think we both know what men are like.
Is om I balle Belgien Éirinn a bhús gléachas a huan, nor a hánig circus dréachta Hollywood ag scanán níocht in a measc. Tagigi sa trás seo a throslam I gceantan an nína a chuimil a réal tímóra an cinema is a bhí roundfart go grothú na dréachta agus na miotas leo, gan trácht an gúil chaint a chruthíoch, an uair a hánig Hollywood dan mala.
Land of Stardust!
As Stanley Kubrick dinne de bhúr úsla Hollywood half na Éirinn in 1973 le tús a chur leis an léireachán a bhuaigh ceithre Oscar a bhí bunathe scéal William Makepeace Thackeray Barry Lyndon. Déanann an scanán chur sios a rógar a Éirinn san 8 a Éirinn leis a chlí a dhéanamh isteach I saol na núisle agus a bhealinn crí ban áling sever.
Barry's father had been bred, like many other young sons of a genteel family, to the profession of the law, and there is no doubt he would have made an eminent figure in his profession, had he not been killed in a duel.
Is ansa in Osán an Ardrí Bortláige a Lunnig Kubrick a Éirinn léirithe agus na heistóric tuaithe a Ryan O'Neill agus Marissa Bernson. Thug sé an túrlár uachtrach ina online Kies, agus is an áid seo a thugad ar féin a dros éachtach in Éirinn.
He loved the story of this charming young man who got corrupted, and he also wanted to make a film that really took place in the 18th century. And then, of course, we had to come to Ireland because to get this particular look of the landscape and the atmosphere, we had to come here. You can't do that in England. You can do the big interiors of the palatial buildings, the stately homes. You can find those in England, but there was so much more where we needed Ireland. And we had a wonderful time here.
The Cadro Leruchan Ghanaian Stanley, Katharina Barry Lyndon.
I was 18 or 19, and I was actually at art college in London. And he said, no, you're not staying in London on your own, you're coming with us. And my father, being the man he was, saw that there was this perfectly useful body who wasn't doing anything, and he had taught me how to take photographs and develop film. And he said, right, start looking for locations. And so you would get a page of script and something specific that you were looking for. So it'd be houses, cottages, views without any modernity, lanes, places to go and shoot. So there was a team of about 5 of us, photographers. We would convene at the art department, which was at top of the Ardrí Hotel, and get our orders for the day, and we would just really fan out and take photographs all day. It was great.
De winter fortlaarges na seachtodí, ní raibh míl an phobal ach teacht an cruús gan an níochta.
Darir is beag a gharéime, gedígar honanda gríanchair, agus hogada an túla óchtarach in san Ardrí Hotel. Agus níor van táirí tócha bhád an am sin, tíganta. Agus bini a chéadrád, nuair a thugamh fiáda go raibh an tóstán fád beagnach tócha súsacha. Bhís a going sin go raibh rud éige de tapling rud éige le táú. Is tócha an scéal bhó, tháinig an lead óg se, agus seach go dtí an baile, chuise go dtí fórs ar a gé, as chuise stáach, as dhéon si coil léireach ar banisteoir dílachán. Agus cred na nó cred bhí sé le 8 gang de vinibus, agus 8 corna, agus 8 gang de vans, agus an firín bort. Ceap sé go raibh bhí me gwine gléasta sais at a dicin tú. Na seachtó dí bheán, bhí gléasta bhí ponytail ina chuid grúige. Bhí puffer jacket a chathage. Bhí moon bútaí a chathage. Bhí bandana So, an farse an banisteoir dílachán. Ceap sé go raibh me gwine I géirí bob a bhúla Agus chuir sé an roiige an tráthnóna céanna. Chuisisteach go dtí an Munster ba hawl mab gnoch leis digen treis op an lei an nur a húsir stáke an Jesus vi not ag prab vi drama stege kalora rodeget agus chnik sé kar leis in a hasav in akel leis agus chur sé kechte Jesus cut é seo he fad or Jesus by fanga gloshe to a tar Volkswagen ag kalora chuig ferristá chuúar a maden agus dorig sé och kind of vananif och kind de vinibus cer kind of saloon glústáin agus Jesus by an tádú bevó dar a révek an ráiste sin agus tar si de stig an se a nocht a kalora fioch bíoch glynna fuisci good agus ság glynna fuisci steach an a gloch
Bhí gach rud faoileáin seoil ach de bhí fidin mhór ag testáil. Agus le fidin mhór bín gála spás agus ifigí.
Well, tá sé Harvey symbol nuair a tháinig a gurpa clárige I dosach bóire an luchs ganán. Curder I gampa san ordraí. Agus an son tréis an rud a bheas cheapadar go nach níos fearr fe níos lárnaí sa tháinig an seo chuig na hifigí seo ar an mála nua. Cofad agus a beidirló dennis hastig úhel gomech winter na hoite fosta co mar sin hí na siúnéirí is na tmána is na gúnadóí a buint leis an áid seo cofad agus a beidirló. Bhí slúite daoine breise a tastáil an scanán allmhór seo. Éan duine fuórpórt ba ghearr go raibh a chailte ag fisrú féin scéal dóibh hénig mar bhráló bheith fosta ho chomá. Saidóí is mó a bhí ucha mar bhí an scanán a buint leis an taobh mílete den saoil. Agus bhí task móracáin sin mar bhí ortha na daoine a gléasa. So bhí ortha fult grúig is gachrad a chur ar fáil an sin agus bhí stóras allmhór ar bhóthar Corcaíocha. Agus is an sin a chuadar chun gachrad a chur an óir dis an agar ó hebh breig éadíide is fult grúige. Bhí na grúigeí áid túla féistúr duine ar le a bhí fosta ag cólach scanáin. Agus mar sin, caithadar bhí díon cuaram ortha gaithé an lá, a dail lá le, duine ina nine is an nine agus iad dodal chuig siamh an scanáin. Mar bhí ortha gacrad a bhí gart na stíle na grúige, is péród a bhí arsúlacha, bhí ortha na fult bréaga a bheith díorca gart. So bhí díon ébre ar fad, bhí daoine a tacht cútha an tamar fad, agus bhí idir anna gan óhach, agus go mór féhrú is dóilam. Díon ébre a bhí le déanamh comá ag deire an le gach lá, mar tháinig na fult grúige ar ais agus bhí ortha iad a chiar a ríist agus ástíalach ar ortha. So bhí cuaram mór ortha ag deire an le.
Bhí gá leis na céta aistóirí breisech an pátain ina saidúrí a líana, agus ní raibh áit níos fearr iad a arcú ná san arm. Gléasach na céta saidúr chumála an ábhainte na tíre san éad a cuí, ach ní éití socrú a céan taobh in na médí.
We were based in Kilkenny, St. Stephen's Barracks, Kilkenny, the 3rd Infantry Battalion. And that was why he wanted, because we were infantry, so infantry are trained with weapons. There was one particular scene, like, when we're dressed up as the English, we'd be marching towards the camera. And this would go on nearly all day, like, to get it right. But the next day he'd have us dressed up as the French, and he'd have us doing in reverse what he had did to the British. So it looked as if there was thousands of soldiers, like, on each side, but there weren't. There was only a few hundred, like, and we're doing both parts, both English and French. Like, I was actually shooting myself, like. We were doing a scene in Kills Castle in Kilkenny, and it was supposed to be our camp for the night, and people of the village were supposed to be able to say greeting us, giving us bread and all this. But some wise guy seemingly had put a frog in one of these ladies' baskets. So she's supposed to be handing out mock bread, but she did, like, this frog popped out and she screamed, and Stanley Kubrick blew a fuse, and he had to about turn 300 troops and back up the hill again to redo it and do it.
Oh, that was they were all incredibly willing and very happy. All the extras, this was all Irish people from, they found it very funny having to wear English and Prussian uniforms or French uniforms, but it's okay, No, it was lovely.
Bhí ról anna háchtach ag an bheol agus an rinke sa scanán, bhain sé amach Oscar de Fuireann Kubrick. Las mud an geol classicach, bhí áit anna speisialta ag ceol agus rinke tradiisiúnta na Éirinn sa scór. Bhí rinke sete nua ag testáil ó Kubrick, mar sin gléir sé an talún áitiúil a bhar, le haig éisteachtaí in Óstáin ardrí.
I went through my own records and I found a couple of set dances and decided on one. We were to meet him in a week's time over in the R3 hotel. So when we got there, it was a case of we had to go up on the roof of the hotel. And here was this nice little man, as I'll call him, very relaxed, introduced us to him, very nice. So I brought my record with me, which was an old 78. The name of it was The Piper's Maggot. And this amused him greatly. So we did set it up, did our little dance, and he was very, very pleased. And I left the record with him. And after a while, lo and behold, we're in the film.
Bhí an irid sin éifeachta ag an bort seosláinte don Bibre Kubrick, gur gléig sé na chieftains leis an piasa ceol céanna a haint.
You know, I hadn't known Stanley Kubrick at all. You know, I wasn't into that kind of stuff. I was so taken up with Irish traditional music and things. Nothing interfered. But I was having this press reception in an office in Dame Street. There was about 5 or 6 of the press there. I get this call, this phone rings. And, hello, this is Stanley Kubrick. I wanted to talk about some music for a film, you know. And I said, okay, Mr. Kubrick, that sounds good. Is there any chance you could call me back on Monday? Because I'm in the middle of my press conference here. And he says, oh, yeah, fine, I'll call you back. And he called me back on Monday. And started talk to me about the film Barry Lyndon and that, and piece of music he wanted to use 5 minutes. So can you come over and see me? Yeah, and fine. I was on the plane the next day, went to his house. We sat down anyway, started to look at the rushes, and I was starting to play a bit of music to the film of it, you know. And afterwards he was saying, God, I have another scene here and I have another scene there. And there was one particular scene I was suggesting a song, I can't remember. I said, yeah, you can't use that, God's sake, that's somebody slobbering over their pint in the pub on a Saturday night or something like that. But at the end of the day, anyway, I sold them 25 minutes of music.
Entschuldigen Sie, Fräulein. Sprechen Sie English?
I'm speaking little.
Ní raibh isig mór an de bhainte na háite go raibh an scananaíocht seo tarlú. Ceist bhúr de Kubrick a bheith an slán dáil, agus mar sin chuméid sé an set dúnta. Is anna bheith aitar fianna sé go raibh scanánan seo in éachra. Den é táchtach trí an scanána se an córach éinear, ba an sa jampel bhí híl chunta fortlarge a bhí a chéad córach ag Barry. Tasbanan Bertie McCarthy na pistol agus na rialach a bhí I gceist doing.
This is a flintlock pistol, is your standard early form of dueling pistol. A matched pair of flintlock pistols, something like this, would have been used. Sometimes you get a flash in the pan where the spark will ignite the powder here but not go through to the main charge in the barrel. And because they were so unreliable, it took them all day to shoot one duel scene.
Can I have a feel of the
gun?
Sure, yeah. So, are we going to have a go at firing these today, Bertie?
We will.
Bhí an córach éinear bunathe chód an óra. Tridach chun deach lua chosant, seachas díra chun duine varú.
Héan.
Bhí an ór fad sa gníomh, a bheith tiltanach de bheathe a chur im mhail.
3. Squeal.
Is he dead?
Quite dead.
When Kubrick úsáid as pasáiste fada an Óstáin chun Éirinn an tuchtúistéal a chrocha an bhalla le spreige a thuirt an bhuireann. Hastig go bhíocha chun scanán díreach an nós an tíreach san Éirinn. Tá láithir éire agus go háirithe chunta he fortlarge agus tibredáran gach a raibh ige.
Let's talk about Grohanig Shell saw. Agus is nor hánig go héir de sacbar bhí sé géir agus tócha uchtúis deag achrathú. Agus tuis go raibh an leabhar an scéal le tacarí an uair scéal bonathe bhí sé site an so Bortláiriga agus Tibredáin agus an iarhéisceart na Éirinn agus is tócha gur sin in fása gur tháinig Kubrick ar eiscilí an taobh sa tíre is tócha nuair a bhí sé nuair a bhí an scanán á Fleanáil amach a géaslocha. Bhí rá an a bhór aige, is tócha sa taobh sa tíre. Timpeall iarhéisceart na Éirinn agus go háirithe gúnta Bortláiriga agus a Tibredáin tá a lándas na taobh sin fós le heiscin táid fós an so Cashlan Fortláiriga, Waterford Castle mar hompla, cumáile sin ard Finnan, Ormond Castle le Garrig na Siúire. Bhí si go húnta agus tócha do riine, agus do gnón na beaga comá, a bhíán ar a contracts na fáil agus bhí airigad á chahabh ag Kubrick an so. Agus, fermador a lándas na dtíine fuór post na beaga, post na part-time mar hompla, bhí an tá go húnta.
Bhain Kubrick úsáid as láithreacha ísle agus úsle ar fuad na mún. Is an sa is sléite íardúltach nach bhfuil dánig a aimsigh sé tigín tréche go raibh cuaram fé leithéige leis.
Is tócha go bhfuil míid sa I gceartlár craoine éise idir chunda Fortláiriga agus chunda Tibredáin. Agus is anseo an léarán inar thóga an scanán Barry Lyndon. Agus is é seo fórach den teach a bhí ansá ag an amson agus is teach máthair Barry Lyndon é. Tháinig na gasóga amach chun lerán a gháilt ansá in Éirinn Fortláiriga. Nuair a tháinig Kubrick ní raibh díon maith ar an forgreibh. Agus dúirt sé go raibh túdóir, uig, chun ag obair thar deire seachtaine chun an fóram a chorú don scanán rih maidin déilún. Agus furadóir túdóir haimpel na háite, soch go raibh seo ó garad de capachain an duine bhéacha. Ach chur sé marg le crúig muintear an scanán. Dírig sé ómper an na teach héin go dtí an leathrán ansa, agus harneis go dtí a bhela héin amthnóna. Bhí a daing éir uig, bhí pá uig, agus bhí há budéal pórt uig, agus dána cúpla boscaí titíní woodbines uig. Sin mar a bhí.
Agus an saoire teach an derig, bhí garda tarthála sa trámhóraigh lorg ibre. Fuair Niall Power and pus mar hománaí de Ronbeck a bhí a bhail na vestes.
Every day was different only because whatever scene we were filming was different. So the amount of people that would be involved each day. For instance, when we did the battle scene, we had 400 soldiers and extras that came that day. We dressed them as English soldiers. And then they went out to do the battle scene and they'd march. And so as they marched, there would be a flare fired up. And as the flare went up, certain people would drop. And then another coloured flare, more people would drop. And then, so Stanley filmed that probably 10 times, just, that happening. And then it was cut. There were 6 soldiers on either side of Ryan O'Neill when he marched. They were called specials. And they actually had the very same uniform he had. They had full wool uniforms. Most of the uniforms were made of, I think, cotton. They weren't very substantial at all. But in the distance or when they're being filmed, you think, they had a real good uniform on, but they didn't.
Ba íon bútóir Oscar Milena Cananero a dhéan de festas a dhearra. Ina tánta bhí firdan sanolaithe á túil, tugadh na drafúracha fhuála frúracha sa Catherine Nelly agus Maisie.
Beautiful machines there, and this one I had is a Bernina machine. It's beautiful. When it was finished, they were selling a few things, and I asked them would they sell the Bernina, and the boss man said yes. It wasn't too dear now at all, and the day I was coming away, I had it all ready in its case, and had a lot to be looking carrying now, but we had taxis to bring us here and there. And then the woman that was our boss came in and she said, "That's mine," she says, "that machine. You see?" I said, "I'm after buying it." "I know," she said, "there's the money, it's my machine." He didn't realise I was getting it. I said, "Take it, she took it and we said goodbye. And I came home and I was on doing my case the next day, and all the gear belonged to the machine, all the things that belonged to it was all in my case. And she had her eye on it all right. It was one of the best. Which was Éirinn. To be only me way now if I had it.
Via Barton Féin ag Rein characteri Ahanta in Barry Lyndon.
The great Napoleonic phrase, the army marching on its stomach. Catering is probably one of the single most important things in making a movie. And in 1968-69, a fellow called John Borman with Sean Connery starring made a film called Zardoz. They were looking for a caterer. I did it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I learned. And then the problem was, it's not like now where there seems to be something going on every day in Ireland with cameras. It was very rare. So we get the phone call, we're in Waterford, we're going to be making a movie and it's this, and this. And then, your eyes light up and the cash registers in your head start to tinkle when they say, well, on a number of days we'll have 1,000 extras and, blah, blah. And we're going to be shooting for about 10 weeks and, it's 6-day weeks. So you're multiplying all this and lo and behold, it's lotto time, you see, so you're thrilled about it. Everybody who kind of got into the movies from a peripheral basis assumed you were going to make a fortune. I sadly, because I am famous as the worst businessman ever to set up in Ireland, didn't make a bob.
The rare mar chuig an scéal a bheas de Barry, baulig an scéal leis na tithe galanta mór himpeile. Nach ábhra gur tháinig Barry Lyndon go héastar chuairt an fuairig sol a dóch go talamh an tig sa bhliain 1974. Anna Cháil Kubrick mar hec nóir. Is an sa halarinka chaslan balaha clia a gúsáid sé lens a bhí déanta den NASA an chéad lá. Thugann lens sa deis do tafadíon a bhí solas an ísisiil agus an ráach ráiteach sin le solas na gcuinil le ghlacha.
Nice lens which had an f-stop of 0.7, which makes it very, very fast, but it was designed originally for satellite photography, where a depth of field doesn't come into it. It doesn't matter. It was always set at infinity. Once you adapt it to a cinema camera, which was difficult enough in itself, the problem is you have no depth of field. So that was a big job for the focus puller.
Vagan Leruchan go blá clia in anion na bliana 1974. Bhí teannas le bra ó thuig agus I gúil cín ga chéine bhí bagart buama I barcan Ionisca. Agus go tobann de bhí sé ar fad hat.
Very quick. I mean, like instant. It was not easy to get. We just take the next boat, and everybody else came 24 hours later. That was very abrupt, but luckily we had really done what we had to do.
Dog Kubrick a cuin, agus cégur of éfacht iad an náisiúnta ag an scéal faoin rógar a gréilach sa. Is a réigin a gluistear an isis faoin scéal Éirinn sa. Déanta in Éirinn. Denim néchan scanán ag or seacht nascar agus bhain sé amach cericín. Farir níor bhain Stanley amach éon cheannacha. Níor ghlacha go má leis an scanán America ná sa bhreatain mhuar, ach bhí anará I baistíd an Eorop agus America ledinach.
Eventually the music itself got an Oscar, after Barry Lyndon came out and that, and going and having that big party down on Malibu Beach. And different composers came along to visit just to say, God, where does this stuff come from? I mean, it did have a huge impression on Hollywood in general,
He's a great filmmaker, there's no doubt about it. He will go down in history together with others, with Ingmar Bergman and Kurosawa and Edgar Wright, what have you, Mike Leigh, as the great artists of his period. There's no doubt in my mind.